Hey y'all, and welcome back to Shawna Rae, a cooking and cleaning channel for busy moms. Today, we're going to be making 3 Instant Pot recipes. The first one is just a basic, yummy, juicy chicken breast. The second are these yummy, delicious, spicy meatballs. And then the last is one of my all-time favorite childhood foods, beef tips with rice. And since becoming a mom, it literally is like I found my purpose. So we're gonna get started with our chicken breast, and you're of course gonna need some chicken breast. I use seasoning salt, garlic powder, chili powder, and onion powder for my seasonings for this, and then salt and pepper, of course, and then a little bit of chicken broth to cook it with. First, I put my Instant Pot on saute, and I waited for that to heat up while I went ahead and seasoned my chicken breast. I just used 3 large chicken breasts for me. These are gonna help be for my salads for the week. And then I put them in a large freezer bag and I threw in my seasoning. So I did seasoning salt, garlic powder, chili powder, onion powder, and some pepper. And I mixed that all up until the chicken breasts were all the way coated. And as I've told you guys before, I don't measure seasoning. So I don't have the measurements for these. Just put in as much as you think would be good. And then I did use some butter on the bottom of the pan. I did forget to mention this in the beginning, but I used some butter, and then I'm also gonna throw just a tiny bit of garlic in there too before I go ahead and throw in my chicken breasts to brown them on each side. Once the butter is melted, I just went ahead and placed in my 3 chicken breasts. I'm gonna let them saute on each side for about 2 to 3 minutes until they start to get a little bit of color and crispness to them. And then I'm just gonna flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. Once they have been in there for a few minutes on each side, I'm gonna remove them from my Instant Pot. I'm then going to place the wire rack that comes with your Instant Pot back in there. And then I'm gonna pour about a cup of chicken broth into the bottom of my Instant Pot. You do need to put some sort of liquid in your Instant Pot anytime you're using it, just so you know. Now I'm gonna place my chicken breast back into my Instant Pot on top of the wire rack to cook. Then I'm gonna put the lid on. I'm gonna make sure it is sealed and put the vent in the sealed position. And then I'm gonna turn this on poultry for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna let that cook for about 5 minutes in my Instant Pot, and then I'm gonna let it naturally release for about 10 to 15 minutes before manually releasing the rest of it. Once that is done, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, and your chicken breasts are done. These were so juicy and moist and perfect to chop up and put on top of my salads this week. Next up, we're gonna be doing keto meatballs. So you're gonna need about 2.5 pounds of meat, or about 2 to 2.5 pounds, 2 eggs, some beef broth, some pork rinds, and then your seasonings. We're gonna use chili powder, crushed red pepper, salt, pepper, and garlic. So first thing we did is we went ahead and dumped our meat into a large bowl because we're gonna need to put all the seasonings in on top of this. We then also went ahead and got our pork rinds ready. You're gonna need about a cup of crushed pork rinds. So we just put those in a measuring cup and smashed them up until it made a cup of smashed ones. You then go ahead and pour those in on top of the meat, and then you're gonna start putting everything else in as well. So I went ahead and did both of our eggs and put those in there. And then we went ahead and did our seasonings. So we did the chili powder, the crushed red peppers, and the salt and pepper. My husband also went ahead and put some of the minced garlic in there, and then last minute he decided he also wanted to throw some Cajun seasoning in there. We had some on hand, so he just went ahead and put some of that in there too. And then you're just gonna wanna go ahead and mix this all up. We do use gloves anytime we are mixing meat up for like meatballs or hamburger patties. We just don't like having all the fat all over our hands, but you don't have to wear gloves if you don't want to. Just make sure you wash your hands really well first. And then you're just gonna want to form these into about golf ball size, or maybe a little bit less than that size meatballs. We made ours relatively large since he's using this as a meal and we're not putting it like on top of pasta or anything. My husband is doing keto, if you are not aware, and so he is just going to be taking a handful of meatballs for lunch every week with some spicy barbecue sauce that I had made the week before on top of them. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that red subscribe button and turn on your bell notification because I post new recipe videos, usually Instant Pot or Crock Pot related, every Friday. Once the meatballs are done, you do want to stick them in the freezer for about 10 minutes. Once that time is up, you're going to go ahead and take them back out, and then we are going to go ahead and put them in our Instant Pot. You're going to want to add 1 cup of beef broth to the bottom of the Instant Pot. Again, like I mentioned before, anytime you're cooking in the Instant Pot, you need about a cup of liquid at least. So you always want to make sure you put some sort of broth or water in the bottom of your Instant Pot. And then we're just going to layer our meatballs on top of the wire rack. Then we are going to close our lid and make sure our vent is set to sealed, and then we are going to pressure cook this for 7 minutes, letting it naturally release for 10 minutes once it's done, and then using the manual release to get the rest of the pressure out. Once those are done, you just go ahead and remove them from your Instant Pot. I did do this in 2 batches, so once I remove all these, you will see me put another batch in. That, like I said, that's because we are meal prepping for the week. My husband will be eating these all week long, so we needed 2 batches. The 2 batches, it was the full 2.5 pounds though. If you wanted to cut that in half, you totally could. Just use a pound of meat and 1 egg and then your seasonings as you see fit. Like I said, we did 2.5 pounds of meat though. These turned out so good and are the perfect keto-friendly addition to any family-friendly meal plan. And then last up, we're going to be making my favorite beef tips. So you're going to need about 2 pounds of stew meat, some extra virgin olive oil, garlic powder. I used minced onions, salt, pepper, and then some minced garlic as well. And then I ended up using 2 of these brown gravy mixes. And then I added in some beef bouillon and beef broth as well. First step, you're going to set your Instant Pot to the saute feature. Once it is hot, I'm going to go ahead and add in some olive oil and then some of my minced garlic to that and let that saute for just a second. Let the garlic get a little warm. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw in my stew meat to get that brown on all sides. Right before it was finished browning, I decided to add some garlic powder and then some salt and pepper and some of the minced onions, just to give the meat some more flavor before I add the beef broth and everything else. Once the meat is browned on all the sides, you're going to want to go ahead and pour in your beef broth. I used about 2 cups of beef broth. I had some left over from the meatball recipe and I just used the rest of that. And then I also decided, I like mine really beefy, so I decided to add some beef bouillon to mine. You can use this if you want, you don't have to. The beef broth should be enough beef. I just like mine like extra beefy. And then I decided to add in 2 packets of a brown gravy mix as well. And so I mixed that all up. And then I added in some more salt and pepper to taste. And then I'm going to cover it up with my lid, make sure it's in the sealed position. And then I'm going to cook this on my pressure cook setting for 25 minutes. Once it is done, I do let it naturally release until it is finished, and then you are pretty much done. I decided my gravy wasn't quite as thick as I wanted, so I did add a little bit of cornstarch mixed with water into it just to thicken it up a bit. This is one of my all-time favorite meals, though. I took this recipe and kind of modified a few that I had found, plus the one that I used to use on the stovetop. Kind of mixed all the recipes together to make this one, and oh my god, you guys, it was so good. Probably the best beef tips I've ever had in my life. I served it over rice and it was amazing. If y'all liked this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. We'll see y'all on the next one. Bye y'all.